Hello everyone and welcome to Stat385. I'm your course instructor, Daniel Eck. As you can see on my screen right here is the course website, which I have given a link to all of you in an email. And so in this lecture, what we're going to do is go over some basics. Welcome to the course and discuss the syllabus and some of the course materials and course organization, etc. So there's two main things that I'm going to start with, and one is that what I'm going to do as this course progresses is start out with a weekly video to discuss the objectives of the particular week. And in this case, the week one video is mostly just discussing the syllabus and course organization. It'll progress to topics, like specific coding topics, as the semester progresses. So before we get to that, here is our website landing page. Just a general welcome to the class and kind of like what the intention of this class is. So what we want to do is introduce students that do not yet have a strong technical background to the core concepts in computing and programming from a statistical perspective, using in this class the R programming language, and apply computing and programming concepts to data applications through the use of R. And then there's four main tools that we're going to interact with from this website for you to sort of navigate the course, submit assignments and whatnot, and how to contact course staff. So one will be Ed, which will be a discussion forum. If you click the link, it'll link to Ed. I have a link for you to join the discussion forum that I sent in the accompanying email. Prairie Learn, so quizzes, labs, and exams will be submitted via Prairie Learn. Prairie Test will be an extension of Prairie Learn that just creates a testing environment for us to work in. More on that later. And then Canvas, where projects and course letter grades will be given out. Okay, so of course, additional resources will be on the syllabus, which we will get to in just a second. So first, as I said earlier, we're going to have a weekly video introducing what we are going to discuss this week. And you can kind of see over on this left column here that we have, you can see the course organization and where the weekly videos are going to be at. And I'm pretty sure that if you just stay on this landing page, if I've set everything up, this link will direct us to the current week. Okay, great. So here, nothing is filled in yet because we aren't in week 2. Okay, so here is week 1. Welcome and syllabus. Welcome again. This is Stat385. I'm Daniel Eck. So, of course, we will have the the start and end date of the week so you can properly orient yourself to where you're at. So we will discuss the summary and specific learning objectives for the week. So after we're completing this week, we're expected to understand syllabus of the course, which we will go over in just a second. Understand the objectives of this course. How to communicate with course staff. How to use R and R Studio to produce codes for labs and quizzes, which we will go to, which we will cover. We will cover labs and quizzes in separate videos. And the labs will be sort of I will go through the lab with you to show how it can be done. And this week it's just going to be familiarizing yourself with Prairie Learn, which we'll cover in a second. In using Prairie Learn to complete labs and quizzes. So in subsequent videos, I will discuss labs and quizzes and how to actually interact with Prairie Learn. Okay, in these weekly summaries or these weekly pages over here, we'll have a reading list. Some of it will be there'll be more materials than necessary sometimes, but there's going to be a wide list of things for you to read, and we'll possibly discuss how to properly interact with this material as the semester goes on. Of course, the main item here is the course syllabus. Okay, so here I've divided this into, there's 6 videos for the week. There's a lot of videos just to start out, and I've divided them into 3. The video that you're watching now, which is this welcome and syllabus, and then how to go through the first lab 0, and quiz 0. And both of these are going to be no course credit, but they're aimed at familiarizing yourself with Prairie Learn and like basic R, and taking code from locally from your computer, uploading into Prairie Learn, which is going to be an auto grading system, and then just how to do that process. This next group of 3 videos is graciously provided to us by Professor David Dalpiez, who has taught this class in this way with this Prairie Learn auto grading system that we're going to use. And Dave has some general thoughts about this class, just educational topics, educational philosophy, that I think are interesting and generally agreed upon. So I've included them here. So shout out to David Dalpiez for his abundance of resources and that he has allowed us to use in this class. And then continuing on our sort of weekly web page here, we will discuss the assignments. So this week, there's 2, but they're going to be practice. They're going to have no effect on the course grade, and the point is to familiarize yourselves with the Prairie Learn system, in which case I will have subsequent videos on this lab and this quiz. So there is going to be credit assigned to each of the submissions for within the labs and the quizzes, but they will not have any effect on the grade. It's just going to demonstrate how Prairie Learn works and what kind of feedback it provides to you when you submit solutions through it. And so it's one of these things where it's it's not going to affect your grade, so you think that maybe you shouldn't do it, but it's going to be just about, in this week, laying a foundation for how to participate in this course. And so I would highly recommend going through it. They're pretty easy exercises, and they'll also test your knowledge of the course syllabus. Okay, and then there'll be a last section here on office hours. As we go through the syllabus, I'll show that there is an abundance of office hours throughout, standard office hours, but maybe things change for a specific week, and so I'll try to update that for each one of these weekly things. Maybe a TA is going on a job interview, or somebody is sick or something like that. So we'll provide updates here. And for this first week, there's going to be no office hours. There isn't a lot of material to discuss, and so I don't think that they're fully relevant quite yet. And then office hours will resume next week. And then I just want to highlight here, sign up and join Ed, the discussion forum for the class, and then check your email for the access link, because I'm going to repeatedly send emails so that you will sign up for the discussion forum. Okay, so this is our welcome and syllabus, our sort of week 1. This would be our week 1 or our weekly video, and I'm going to continue on discussing the syllabus. Okay, so this is Stat 385 yet again. Fall semester 2023. I think we're all in the right place. This is an online asynchronous class, and it'll be taught with these lecture videos, which you are currently watching and listening to the things that I'm saying. So I assume that you have the lecture video. And what I will try to do is post all of the course content for the week on Monday, so that you can be ready to go, and then you can view it, view the content whenever you like. And of course, since it's online asynchronous, you can view it wherever you are. Okay, so our course staff right now, there may be some minor changes, or we may add some people. Right now, I'm the instructor, Daniel Eck. I am a assistant professor in the statistics department. I am I would call myself an applied statistician who's interested in methodological, theoretical developments rooted in real world problems. So I don't participate in the space of doing methods development where the justification for the method is done via simulation studies. I try to have some sort of interesting problem in hand, be it from a scientist or a sports scientist or a social scientist or a baseball team or something like that, and then I try to work with them to develop novel methods when traditional techniques no longer work. And so I guess I would say, pretty collaborative in nature, and so exchanging and working with people's data and manipulating it into a form that can be used by statistical techniques, which are things we're going to cover in this class, is very fundamental to what I do. Writing functions or tasks in programming to solve a variety of things or answer interesting questions, or find specific estimators and stuff like that for some complicated statistical process are also things that I do quite a bit. We won't get into complicated estimation techniques in this class, but we will go through foundational programming concepts. And so this is something that I'm teaching this class. I do this stuff. I wouldn't necessarily call myself the greatest programmer, but it is something that I do on a day-to-day basis because it's important to the research that I do. So I'm, fairly excited to teach this stuff because it's stuff that I do. We have two TAs, Raji Brahma and Dimitrios Mandravelis. Dimitri is fine. And so I have links to their office hours right now, which I'm gonna, wait a minute. I need to, give me 1 second. There we go. So this website is built on something called Quarto through GitHub Pages, and I will constantly edit it, of course, as the course progresses. And so I had added to office hours, but didn't deploy the newest edition of the website. So here are the office hours for your TAs and for myself. So what our idea here is that course content will be due on Thursday by midnight, and so we're trying to place many different opportunities for office hours leading into Thursday. And so you can see that I've put I have a 2-hour block on Wednesday, and then our TAs have successive blocks on Thursday. And then, there's some afternoon times and morning time there's afternoon time on Tuesday and a morning time on Wednesday. If for whatever reason these office hours don't work for you, please post that in the discussion forum, which you can join and participate in at any time that you like. Okay, let's go back. So this is the core staff, myself, 2 TAs. We have office hours throughout in this kind of concentrated Tuesday to Thursday block to align itself well when course will, when content will be distributed. Okay, so now course content. So, we have the words here on the syllabus, but basically it's what we discussed earlier, is that students, this class is aimed at developing foundational programming concepts to aspiring statisticians, data scientists, etc. And it is designed to be sort of a first course in introducing programming through that lens. And as such, we will largely we'll be teaching this class through the R programming language, which I understand that there's other programming languages out there that can solve statistical tasks, but R really is an open source programming language that is written by statisticians and for statisticians. We won't necessarily cover the wide range of what R is from like a statistical research perspective or anything like that, but just to kind of demonstrate the idea that when I do applied research or methodological research, I guess, coming up with a new method to solve some task that is hopefully interesting to somebody, then what I do is produce an R software package along with whatever publication I'm trying to write at the time, and then that gets included within the R programming language, and then anybody can assess the software that I write. So this is the space that statisticians traditionally operate in, and so there's a whole lot of tools and methods that exist within the R programming language. But before anyone can get there, we of course have to understand foundational programming concepts within this language, which this class is aimed at. So it's not necessarily meant to be a course where you have a wide variety of programming experience yet. This is an introduction class. Okay. The main textbook that we are going to use, so here's a variety of reading resources, and the main one we're going to use is Atomic R, written by David Dalpiez, and we will, of course, provide links to what chapter you want to, will be referenced in the current week. Okay, then these are a variety of additional resources for this class. And so I would say that this obviously looks like a very daunting list. This is not stuff that is necessarily needed to have. We may make references to specific points within these books, but the way that I would see this, view this is a carefully curated list of supplementary material that could be very useful for you either within this class or moving forward. And yeah, Dave Dalpias and I use these resources quite a bit, or have used them in the past, and we found them to be useful in our, when we get stuck in day-to-day our activities or want to learn more about the programming language as it's being continually developed. Okay, so daunting list, yes, but it is definitely very useful stuff either now or in the future. And one thing here too is that this stuff is all freely available. So none of this is something that you would have to spend money on. So there's that as well. So this is a carefully curated list of additional resources, which is all free to use. Okay. These two things may be more immediately relevant. I'd say the RStudio cheat sheets is going to be useful in this class. And then the R manuals, these are, what's the way to describe it? They are highly technical, in-depth manuals about R, about creating software in R, or just writing just programming in R. It would be the authoritative reference. It is dense and it is dry. When I was a graduate student and didn't know much about R, and before RStudio and a bunch of nice tools existed, my thesis advisor just handed me this manual and just said, read it. Very steep learning curve, but when you go through it, you will really know R at the end. So something that maybe as you continue on and want to go deeper into R, this would be for you. But these RStudio cheat sheets will be absolutely useful, not as steep as the learning curve here. Okay. Prerequisites for this class, we have these two classes here. I think the idea is that we just require that students have some exposure with basic statistical concepts, stuff like different types of averages, a histogram, stuff like that, summaries of numbers, different like percentiles, quartiles, stuff like that. So just statistical concepts is something that we need here. You don't necessarily have to be the strongest programmer yet. That's what this course is for. And we don't require a deep understanding of statistics, but some exposure would be nice. So that's kind of the general idea for what these prereqs are trying to get at. Again, no expectation of prior programming experience. This is an introductory class. Okay, course communication. So again, this is online asynchronous. You won't see me in lectures because it's online and asynchronous. But there are various modes of communication that are available to you, and we're trying to make this as easy as possible. And we have 3 different forms of communication, and they are ranked in order of preference. One is office hours. Show up, ask your questions there, and hopefully we have a decently large group of people there, and we can all sort of interact and ask and answer questions together. The next is the discussion forum, Ed. So yeah, you can provide coding questions there. You can copy your code and upload it in Ed, and we can, and along with your general questions. Don't take screenshots of code. I'm not going to copy it or write it down or anything like that. The code won't run via screenshot. Just copy and paste your code. And I want to say that the discussion forum is open to everybody, so people can see what kind of code you're doing. You don't need to worry about is this cheating or not by sharing your code. I'm saying right now that it is not cheating. So if you're stuck and want to communicate, in a general discussion where you're not there at office hours or you can't make the office hours, then this is absolutely the way to go. And then last of the communications is email. I would prefer if email was more like private matter issues. But I understand that sometimes people don't want, or people want to ask specific questions with about coding through email. But I would suggest and recommend that you would go to office hours or to the discussion forum with specific coding inquiries or just like class material stuff. And if you have private issues, do not hesitate to send an email. That would be the way to do it. Okay. But yeah, another point about office hours and discussion forums is that, if you're asking questions, there's a good chance that other students have very similar questions, maybe the exact same question. And so other students will be able to benefit from you asking questions, and this is highly appreciated. Okay, office hours we covered. Yes, right. We'll just mention again that office hour schedules are always subject to change. The times here are the general availability. The TAs have this in their calendar. This is when they will be meeting, and if something comes up, I'll let you know in one of the weekly videos and web pages. Okay. And then you can read more of the information on what's expected of you for attending office hours. Okay, so Ed. So yeah, we're going to use Ed as our discussion forum. It's a pretty nice format overall. I have sent access information to you in the email, so just go ahead and go through the link. David Dalpiez has taught this class many times, hasn't had problems with people being able to access the forum. I haven't used Ed yet before, but me and my TAs were able to figure this out pretty easily and join the class. So I think that we can get up and running on this discussion forum pretty easily. I've worked with discussion forums in the past. It depends on the group, but I've always found them to be lively ways of communicating information, and I think that I personally have gained a lot of enjoyment out of them and found that it really does. It really is the case that people have the same question. And so if people are willing to put themselves out there and ask questions, then it really will help out everybody. So I like the discussion forum concept, and I'm excited to try Ed. Yeah. Okay. All right. So emails, there's a lot of students in this class, and I get a lot of emails anyways. And I've tried to, let's see, what's the way? I've tried to get away from emails as a form of communication, especially with the students that I work with on research related projects, or my TAs to the best of my ability, and communicate in other means, and have the emails be like the dean says something or LIS has some sort of update. And so I'm trying to the stuff that I don't want to respond to instantly is what emails is for me these days. So I really do ask, if you have course specific or course content specific questions, then please communicate with discussion forum or office hours is most preferred. But if you do need to send an email then of course, and you need to communicate private matter issues, I am not closed off to that at all. I don't want that to be the message that you're getting from this. But with the filters that I have up on emails, I ask that you follow these rules. An email, first of all, must originate from your @illinois.edu email address for it to be responded to, and then your subject line must begin with Stat385, so I know exactly where this is coming from. And so I have a little bit of guidance here about how to send an email in this class. Okay, give me one sec. Okay, so independent of how you choose to communicate with course staff is sort of some guidelines for how to, formulate your questions or your questions and comments and your debugging in ways that can be productive in this class. I'm not sure if you've been to a class where this would be one of the recommendations. You can ask Google before you ask the course staff. And I know that ChatGPT is on the horizon too, and that's a decent tool as well. But I think that at this stage, probably trying to familiarize yourself with how to ask questions into Google and navigate that space would be more productive at this present moment. But what you can do is, as you're working through R and trying to write your own code, eventually you will have error messages pop up. What you can do is just take those error messages you obtained and search it with Google. And then chances are somebody has written about this specific problem, and then you can follow what somebody else has done to fix it. I do this. This is what I do a lot of the time. And if I don't, then I have to read the resources that I've posted above, that long list of additional supplementary resources. But yeah, so generally speaking, with copying in an error message into Google, and then somewhere in like the first three resources that Google provides will be the answer. That's usually the case. And if it isn't, then we can start talking on discussion forum or office hours about like where to go from there. So first make a legitimate effort, use Google, debug that way. And then if you can't, then go to office hours or ed. If you need to ask us, the course staff, on office hours or via ed, one thing that will help in speedy answers is that you provide all the code that is required to create the error message. This is something that my advisor made me do, and it's useful because it makes things just go faster. I can't necessarily, if you provide only partial code, I can't figure it out. I won't be able to fill in the missing links, not necessarily, anyways. So staff should be able to run your code without any modification and obtain the exact same error output that you've obtained, and then once we the exact same error message will be received on our end. And then once we are in alignment about what your code is and what the message is that it is producing, then we can start to go to work to figure out how to debug this code and provide you with the answers that you need in order to fix it, or the guidance that we can provide you for you to be able to figure it out from there. This thing, do not use screenshots or code and error message to communicate about them. I understand the temptation for this, but there's a very good chance that myself or course staff just won't be able to figure out what you're doing because you're only providing a part of the context for how your problem is, how you're arising at your problem. So I can't run code in my head and understand exactly how R will process it. I'm not a computer, and I won't copy down your code line for line to try to figure this out. So what you need to do to interact with us, for us to be able to help you out as quickly as possible, provide all the code necessarily to recreate the error. We should then be able to run your code without modification and obtain the same error, error, and it should be the exact same error message received. And if we don't do those things, and then from there we can figure out what the issue is. Okay. Yeah. So for exams, we won't be doing this kind of code sharing thing, but outside of the context of exams, we have a preference for oversharing. So it's okay, again, on a discussion forum for you to feel free to share all the code that's required to create the error message, and then we can go from there. You don't need to worry about, like, is this cheating, or am I like inadvertently helping out other students? I'm telling you right now, it's fine. So you can interact on ed or in office hours with confidence that you are doing the right thing when you are oversharing your code to try to in an effort to have your problems answered. Okay, course was kind of out of place here, but anyways, course staff emails. You have my email address. This class will be, I know that we have TAs, and the TAs will have office hours and whatnot, and you can interact with them there. As far as grading is concerned, most of that's going to be taken care of, it's going to be taken care of via Prairie Learn, which is an auto grading system, which more on that later, and that would we'll go through Prairie Learn and interacting with it in our lab and quiz videos for this week. But the grading is set through Prairie Learn, so any grade disputes or problems with the auto grader that you think that you may have are something that I can talk to you about. And the course, your specific TAs don't need to be a part of that conversation, so I've only provided my email address. Okay, assessments, or like what you're going to be doing to for us to test your knowledge of course material. It's probably going to be 4 things. We're going to have quizzes, labs, exams, and projects. With the exceptions of exams and projects, assignments will be due at 11:59 p.m. Champagne time on the listed due date, which I don't really foresee Nietzsche's coming up with this, but it's just always going to be on Thursday. So quizzes and labs will be due on Thursday. Quizzes and labs will both be due on Thursday. And we'll try to release the materials the Thursday before they are due. Okay, so we have 4 different assessment methods. So let's run through them. Labs, there's going to be 8 labs throughout the semester, administered through Prairie Learn. And I'll go over what labs are in more detail in an accompanying video, but you can click here to see what the lab policy is. This should link to, this labs link right here, so you can have it. And so these labs will, take various forms depending on, where we are in the course, but these are always meant to be guided practice. And as such, I will have a corresponding video for the assigned lab, in which I go through the exercises in it. And because the labs are a guided experience, they're going to have a lesser effect on the overall course grades. Okay, so we'll go over more about the labs in a later video. Okay, so quizzes, there's going to be 8 quizzes as well, also administered through Prairie Learn. And I'll go through a video on quizzes with more information on them as well. So again, in week 1, you have this video that you're currently watching now, which serves as like both, what we're going to cover in the week and the syllabus. And then I have these accompanying videos for the lab and the quizzes, practice labs and quizzes for the week. Okay, but to go, to be thorough, let's go through quizzes. Okay, so quizzes they're going to be worth more than labs, but it should be understood that these assignments are going to be low stakes, and they're going to have unlimited attempts. So Prairie Learn is this auto grading system that you'll gain familiarity with throughout the semester, but also if you watch the accompanying videos for this week. But the idea here is that you're not going to be penalized for submitting incorrect answers. So you can you always, when you're participating with the quizzes, you are going to participate in, or you're just going to be gaining and never losing points. Your grade can only go up by interacting with Prairie Learn for these quizzes. And they will serve as practice for your exams. Quizzes will not be dropped. Instead, there's going to be opportunities to earn buffer points, and we'll go over this in more detail as the in the accompanying video. But the main idea is that if you complete the quiz somewhat early, and do it 100%, do full completion, then you're going to get 5% buffer points, which can be later used to distribute throughout quizzes that maybe you didn't do as well as you would have liked on. And then you have a set number of time to go through the quiz. So in like 2 weeks from the deadline, or 2 weeks from assignment, I should say, you can get full points. And then after that, 1 week after that, then you can get 75%. And so we'll go over this, again, but like if you were to have done like 80% of the assignment, and then in week 1, and then you kind of just forgot about it, then you will earn 80%. You won't. So this is like the maximum points that you could earn after 3 weeks of it being assigned. Okay, and we'll go over that in more detail. Okay, in this class there's going to be 2 exams, and both exams will be administered through Prairie Learn, Prairie Test, and they're going to be proctored via Zoom. So TAs, maybe additional staff and myself, will proctor them, and we have a lot more information on exam policy, which we will go over in more detail when the exams are a little bit closer. One thing to keep in mind is that what we're going to do for the exams, for exam 1 and 2, they're going to be on Thursday from in the evenings, that everybody theoretically is available to be able to take them in this sort of remote online synchronous experience that we're going to have. And then we have some makeup times afterwards. And if all 3 of these times cannot work for whatever reason, then you can let me know. But we can discuss exams in more detail when we get a little bit closer to the exams. First one is going to be on Thursday, October 5th. So we have time before we need to worry about exams. We'll have no final exam in this class. Instead, there will be an individual final project. And the goal of this project would be to create a Shiny application, which we don't know what that is yet because we haven't talked about it. But Shiny applications they're pretty cool. It's a way for you have your underlying data, and then you have this user interface type thing with the data in the background, and then there's these inputs that the users can play around with, and it can sort of manipulate the data in real time and change either visualizations or just outputted numerical summaries based on and it does this instantaneously, or depend if it's a reasonably sized data set, instantaneously, so that like instead of doing like static steps in which you're wrangling a data set, this can be like dynamic, and any user who wants to have any specific inquiry can ask it through this application. So it's really slick. It probably sounds difficult right now, but we will progress to that point, and it is something that if done well, it's something that you can take with you and advertise as something that you've created. They are I think they're pretty fun and they're pretty cool, and I have used them myself to supplement some of the research projects that I do. And I know that in industry, some of my friends who are data scientists work on these kind of displays all the time. And so they are useful for both the academic and industry worlds. And so we're going to teach them here. So let me skip past the deadline and actually just go one point on this Shiny app, is that, we really do want this to be something that you can take with you. And so we're not really like going to place a big percentage of your overall grade on the final project itself. So this is kind of like, yes, this is something that we want to evaluate you on, but also, yes, this is something that you can take with you. And so most of the points, so I guess half the points in this class will be on quizzes and these labs. And if you stick with the material and interact with the auto grader and whatnot, and put it down and then pick it up, and you're always gaining points, it's theoretically possible and decently straightforward for people to get 100% on this section, or to get all of these 50 points, or those 50% of your grade. Exams, I understand exams can be, a little bit more variable. But yeah, so this class will be designed where if you're doing the regular work, the week in, week out, doing your quizzes and labs, you should be able to do pretty well in this class. And this class won't be, and then here's, the grading scale as well. This class isn't meant to be like a hyper competitive environment or anything like that. If everybody were to complete all of the work and do well enough on the exams, it's theoretically possible that everybody gets an A in this class. We're not trying to set curves. We're not trying to sort of weed people out in this class. And I think a part of that, a testament to that, is also how we're approaching these discussion forums, where students can are encouraged to overshare code, and maybe there could be a lively discussion from students answering questions as well. And so this is meant to be a collaborative and, to the best of our ability, a fun environment for learning programming concepts through R, and so that you can build a solid foundation in a relatively low stakes environment as you progress through your quizzes and labs, and can build up and see yourself building up and incrementally scoring points. I think it's a pretty good system. Okay, skipped ahead. Okay, going back to deadline. So I have a rough outline for the course material. Again, we have 8 labs and quizzes. The labs and quizzes are distributed at the same time, due at the same time. And then you can see we have exam 1, exam 2. And then after that, final project would just be due on the last possible day at the last possible time. And so this is the schedule that we are going to try to follow with how the assessments are distributed and when they're due. And then over here, of course, you can see what the material is. Okay, so a lot of this so far has been on, your assessments and whatnot, and then some of the technology that we're using in this class, like Prairie Learn and Ed discussion forum, and how to communicate with course staff via office hours and whatnot. So we actually haven't, I know I've mentioned R in RStudio, but we haven't actually gotten into it yet. So what you're going to need to write programming, or the programming language we're using is R. And so here's where you can go to get R, and then we're going to use RStudio as a way to interact with R. This is it's very nice. It's free. It's just here. I have a window open. This is what RStudio looks like. It's got a place for you to write code, and you can and then here's the R terminal. The R programming language is just this part. So you would have to be coding by hand. This RStudio organizes a little space for you to be able to sketch out your ideas and build your code here, and then you can run it in R to check it. And then it's got all this stuff for file structure, where you're at, and what is currently the objects that you've created in R. And so we'll get into it in a little bit more detail. We'll discuss some of it in the next video on labs. But it's very nice. And then of course, okay, where are we? Course technology. Okay, so then there's our various learning management tools that we're doing. Again, class is asynchronous, online, and we have a discussion forum, Prairie Learn, auto grader for you to. So you submit, you write your code in R, you test it first, and then you can upload it to Prairie Learn for it to be auto graded. And then if you didn't get all the points, then you can try again on Prairie Learn. And we'll get into that, of course, in more detail. We have Prairie Test for exams, and Canvas for distributing for you to provide your final projects, and for us to provide you with a course letter grade. Okay. I think that's grade disputes. So we're working with an auto grader. So it's fairly well tested. This class has run before, and a lot of work has been put into it. But nonetheless, if you feel that there was a mistake, then you can discuss it with me, the course instructor. You have 1 week from the date that you received a grade to do so. And after that, then we won't be discussing it. Unless, of course, there's exceptional circumstances, which, yeah. Okay, yeah, important point here. You may not simply just ask for a regrade, but instead must justify to the instructor why the grading was done incorrectly. And of course, by disputing any grading, you agree to allow the instructor to review the entire assessment in question for other errors missed during the grading. And requests for this must be sent via email. Okay. Right. Teaching assistants and course assistants do not have the authority to modify grades. Just me. All right. And academic integrity. Don't cheat on the exams. Again, with the ED discussion forum, we encourage you to overshare materials so that we can have a nice, positive learning environment. Okay, so I have this last thing here. David Dalpias has some extended thoughts on teaching philosophy, explanation of some of these policies. I'm closely following his course outline and this Prairie Learn system that's been developed by UIUC personnel, and this class that was a collaborative effort between David Dalpias, some other graduate students in the statistics department, and Dirk Adebeetle, and it's been great. They're very generous for setting this up and letting us use it. So further thoughts can be seen in this extended syllabus if you want to hear some of Dave's viewing on this material in this course. I found it to be pretty interesting. And of course, there's this last thing here that I reserve the right to make changes that are considered advisable. Such changes, if any, will be announced. It's your responsibility to keep track of these changes. So this is kind of, David Dalpias calls this like a Darth Vader clause or something, but like, we'll let you know if anything happens that we need to change something. You'll be well prompted of that. And I have this clause in all of my syllabuses, and I've never really had to use it, or it's been things that are relatively minor. Okay, so yeah, that's our week 1 introduction, our welcome to Stat 385 and our syllabus. You can see the website here where we have our landing page for this is Stat 385, welcome, and then our weekly page, in which case our landing page directs you to the current week, which is nice, and then our syllabus, which view it many times, read over it carefully. When the exams approach, read over it again. And yeah, so let's have a good semester. Let's talk on ed, and let's see each other in office hours. And hopefully this online asynchronous experience can be more personal than what that would normally suggest. All right, so I will see you in the next video where we go over lab, and then we'll have another video after that, which we go over the first quiz. All right, so take care, and I'll see you next time.